Okay, perfect. So very cool. Hey, Facebook, welcome to our Coffee with Paulette live. Excited to have you on today. You're looking at me wearing this military jacket. I was just telling Tori and Jesse that this military jacket is my brother's. And I don't even know if he knows I have it. But he has, like, you see how it says, but David, I didn't serve, so I wanted to at one point. And then Pat said, no, you don't serve, I'll go. And so it was like maybe like a 2-3 day thing that I thought about, but it wasn't something I did. But my brother, Patrick Bet David, who is also the CEO and founder of PHP Agency, host of a YouTube channel, Valuetainment, Patrick Bet David, served in U.S. military in the 101st Airborne before he started his business. And so today's topic and why we're having this is I talk to a lot of people from military background, and they're thinking, okay, now it's time for me to transition. What do I need to do? Should I become an employee? Should I just go become a cop or a firefighter? And what should I do? Because, I was looking at some topics earlier today, and I was looking at the 10 things that military background faces when they leave military. And number one is fear is real, because they're used to doing something for so many years, and now we're going to go and work at a new environment, something different, lack of transition preparation, and then so many different choices. I don't know which one to do. As a matter of fact, we'll get into these topics, and at the end, they want to still serve. They want to still serve because that's how you feel when you're in the military. And thank you so much for those of you that are watching and you serve in the military. We appreciate you. I want to introduce to you both of my panelists, and really exciting to have both of them. Tori Hansberry has served in the military for about 9 years, majority of it in the Air Force. And she also comes from healthcare background. She's a wife, she's a mother, she's a broker, senior broker, has her own office in Chicago. And we have her today. So thank you so much for joining us, Tori. And then we also have Jesse Moon, who served in the Army 16 years, running his insurance business out of San Antonio, Texas. He's a husband, father, and a business owner. And thank you, Jesse, for joining us today also.
Thank you as well.
Exciting panel. So take like a few minutes and introduce yourselves to our audience, your background. Let's have Tori go first.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paulette, for having me on. My name is Tori Hansberry. Like she said, I am a senior marketing director and co-owner of PHP Agency. Like she said, I came from the healthcare background. I actually graduated nursing school at the age of 18 years old. I joined the military at 17 years old. So right in the middle of my transition from junior year to senior year, I did like the hybrid military school or whatnot. So I did that, stayed in the military. I started off in the Army. So I did the Army for a year and a half, and a recruiter came up to me and said, hey, why are you in the Army? I'm like, what do you mean? He was like, your ASVAB score says you need to be in the Air Force. So I said, oh, okay. So I got recruited out of the Army into the Air Force, and I was in the Air Force for 7 years. After leaving the Air Force, I transitioned into the healthcare field. Instead of going to nursing, I actually went to school for public health and studied epidemiology, which is the study of infectious diseases. I kind of fell in love with HIV. I know it sounds crazy, but fell in love with the disease and started helping individuals, mother and babies, who contracted the disease. And 100% of my babies were HIV free. I'm very proud to say that. And then transitioned to entrepreneurship. It actually happened through a tragedy. In 2016, I had this massive wedding, 200 people. Ladies, don't do it. just do a destination wedding and call it a day, or go to Vegas. But had this huge wedding. Fast forward in September 8th, to be specific, my dad had a stroke. He was a truck driver, owner, operator. When he stopped driving, money stopped coming in, right? Fast forward December 22nd, that same year, my mom lost a battle of breast cancer. So I had 3 major events happen, and it just smacked us in the face. Wasn't educated about anything, and next thing you know, something just came into our laps. Well, not just something. Well, we prayed every day to God, asking him for just to give us something, give us some type of peace. And entrepreneurship just came to us, and ever since then, we've just been hitting it and swinging and just winning. So that's where we are.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. What a story. I love it. I love it. Jesse, how about you?
Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? Jesse Moon here, coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. Paulette, I just want to thank you for having us on your platform, and being able to represent a company that has changed many people's lives and is going to continue to do so for the next 50 to 100 years and plus. Tori, I just want to let you know, my condolences to you. What a testimony it's that you can now share and be that lighthouse, that beacon of hope for a better tomorrow. But guys, I just want to run you through a quick background of me. Originally from Savannah, Georgia, grew up in Anderson, South Carolina. So if you're a Clemson Tiger fan, I grew up right outside of Clemson University. And March 13th, 2003, we did the shock and awe into Iraq. Many of you remember that. And my oldest son was about 6 months old at the time. And I was like the mother and father, feeding him at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And all that was on was Fox News. And there was a sense of feeling that came over me and said, Jesse, you have to go and serve your country. And then I looked down at my baby boy, and something told me that I have to go and fight for my country to make sure there was never war on our home front. And that, of course, obviously as an 18-year-old, I needed to make sure that I didn't have to worry about how the bills were going to be paid. So the next day, March 14th, 2003, I walked into the Marine Corps Recruiting Center. There was a sign on the door that said, be back at 12. They were out for lunch. So I did an about face, went into the Army Recruiting Center, said, send me to war. 2 weeks later, I was in basic training. So you fast forward. I only had intentions of doing 4 years, but as I was about to get out, I was stationed in Korea at the time, and they said, you're a natural for the military. I hit E6 in 4 years, and they're like, no, you have to stay here. And I was like, okay. I re-enlisted. Guys, I re-enlisted, and they told me the most difficult job in the military was recruiting. I said, well, if that's the most difficult job, how do I become a recruiter? So I volunteered for recruiting. I said, if I can sit across the table from a young man, a young woman, and help them fulfill their dreams of becoming a soldier, then that's what I want to do. What testament to a leader of my leadership abilities is to get somebody to make a decision that they're not 100% sold out on, but I can help lead them to that. So I said, let me become a recruiter. Then while I was in recruiting school, I said, where's the most difficult location to recruit at? They said, Chicago, Illinois. I said, send me to Chicago, Illinois, because if I can recruit there, I can recruit anywhere. And so 12 years, so 16 years, the first 4 years I was a network system analyst. The last 12 years I was a recruiter for the United States Army. And then there was a gut feeling inside of me for the last 12 years. I had all the awards. I had all the accolades. I was a #1 Army recruiter for 8 years in a row. And something wasn't sitting well with me. I realized that even though I was #1, even though I was showing up before everybody else, I was the last to leave. I have 2 master's degrees. I was getting paid the same as the guy who was showing up late, who was leaving early. And it didn't sit right. It reminded me of socialism, that everybody's getting paid equal, no matter how much how much your work ethic is showing and how much you're putting into it. I said, it's not fair. So sat down with my wife. I said, honey, I think it's time for me to jump. Steve Harvey quote, he says, if you want to be successful in life, you have to jump. And the more success you want, you have to jump over and over and over again. So, and we have 7 kids, guys.
Oh my gosh.
So you could tell I was terrified about how the bills were going to get paid. So I truly had a bet on myself, and it was terrifying. But Paulette, I'm sure you're going to expound on that a little bit, and I would love to share that with you guys later on. But now you fast forward 18 months. Life has changed for us dramatically. We're in the midst of a pandemic. Our kids are used to seeing us at home, all because of this company that we represent and this change in the world as we now know it. So thank you, Paulette, for having me on as a panelist. And I look forward to the rest of this interview.
I love it. I love it. Thank you for, first of all, thank you so much for serving. I'm from Middle East, and right now, if you look around the world, the only country that defines absolute freedom is America. The only country right now in the whole entire world that defines freedom, hope, is America. And so when you talk to people that are in Middle East or anywhere else, and they just dream about one day to be in America. And I remember Patrick and I, when we were in Iran, and we would talk about one day we would watch like movies, like breakdowns, and and we just couldn't wait to come, and Hollywood and this and that. It was a dream, not only for us, for all our friends. So the moment we told our friends, hey, we're going to America, they're like, oh my gosh, I am so happy for you, because they knew that we were going from somewhere that was so much oppression to freedom. And at the end of the day, people want that. And so thank you so much for serving to be able to conserve that freedom within America. And right now we're at war. We're absolutely at war with the freedom we have right now here. And so I wanted to go we may be a little bit controversial, maybe, I'm not sure, but we'll see where we go with that. But real quick question, do you have a crazy boot camp story? Because when I hear about boot camp, and right now we're reading the book of the month with David Goggins, You Can't Hurt Me. I mean, some of the stories you hear is shocking. Do you personally have a crazy story from the boot camp you experienced? Go ahead, Tori.
Oh my God. I have so many, but I don't know which ones I can share. I'll keep it PG-13.
All right.
But so I went to basic training with the Army, which was in Fort Jackson. They call it Relaxing Jackson. It is in South Carolina, but it wasn't really that much relaxing back then. I had a story. One of my stories was the gas chamber. Oh my God. So we heard about the gas chamber because, of course, you had different platoons going at different times or whatnot. So we'll probably see each other, in the mess hall or whatnot. And they'll be talking about it like, man, wait till you go to the gas chamber, blah, blah, blah. Just kept talking about it. It was like, whatever, like, it's not even that bad. So, of course, the day came and it was our turn to go to the gas chamber. So everybody's suiting up. They put on their mob gear. We got everything on. And we go in there. And, of course, we're just standing there. And you kind of feel like something kind of tingling on your neck a little bit. But you don't think much of it. And then they say, lift up your mask. And they go to each individual. They told me to sing the Army song when I lift up my mask. And then they told me to say my social security number. So, of course, when I lifted up, I said my social security number first. But the number I said was definitely not my social security number. I don't know. I don't even remember what I said. Like, by the time I lifted my mask up, I just kept trying to gasp for air. And my nose was running. I was slobbing. Like, it was ridiculous. And he's like, at the time, my name was Hargrove. He said, Hargrove, get out of here, get out of here. And I just hauled, but I just ran out. I just ran out. And then they said, when you go out, you're supposed to like flap your arms or whatnot. And they said specifically, don't touch your face. Of course, my face is burning. I can barely breathe. Soon as I get out, I wipe my eyes. And oh my God, my eyes started burning.
Oh, wow.
My nose started running. It was slob everywhere. Just, it was horrible. And then you see the other people coming out. Everybody's like wiping their eyes and stuff. I'm doing like this. And this. It was hilarious. So yeah, that's one of my stories. So anybody in the military out there, when you go to the gas chamber, just just fly, don't touch your eyes, don't do anything, listen, and just do what they say and hurry up and get out of there, okay?
Oh my gosh. I think Patrick also shared about the gas chamber. I'm like, I can't even imagine. Jesse, how about you?
Yeah, that was the gas chamber is always a good story, and you know what's funny, Tori, is I had a similar experience. I went to basic training at Fort Benning, Georgia, down in Columbus, Georgia, all male basic training. So it was a little tougher, but I grew up in Georgia, so it was I grew up camping and hiking. I was used to all that stuff. But the gas chamber, there's no comparison to that. CS gas is choking gas. So when you break your seal, you're gas for air, and you're done. But yeah. So what's funny, Tori, is when I was in Korea, I become the NCOIC of the CBRN. So I was in charge of the gas chamber. We'd light our CS tablets, and then I'm in there for 2, 3, 4 hours with no gas mask on. You get used to it. And so it's pretty crazy. But I'll tell you, Paulette, my very first day of basic training, I'm that guy that's I was there for the experience. I wasn't there for the discipline. I wasn't there for anything else. But the very first day, they come on the bus. If you didn't have your lock on your bag, they opened it up and threw all your duffel bag all over the ground, picking it up. This was back in the day when they could physically touch you. So nowadays they can't put hands on you, but they tackled privates and stuff. It was pretty cool. But we were lining up for chow formation, and chow formation is the dining. We're getting ready to have dinner, and you're supposed to stand in line, position of attention, or you're reading your basic training manual, your book, learning the Army songs and the Soldier's Creed and stuff. So I'm standing there and I'm looking around. I'm checking out my environment, right? Private Moon, what the are you doing? They pulled me out and they made me do mountain climbers, or I'm sorry, cross country skiers until everybody got through. Well, literally, I could not stand up. This was day one. A couple hours after I couldn't stand up, and I didn't get to eat. They had to carry me to the barracks to lay down until the next morning. We call it a smoking. They smoked me. So exhausted, physically exhausted, muscle exhausted. So that's my story. Of course, there's plenty of them to go around, but that was my very first day of basic training. So just imagine, what type of precedence that set for the remaining 9 weeks that we had.
I can't imagine. Very motivating for someone who's watching and is thinking about considering military, and it's like, maybe not so much. But thank you for sharing. So let's talk about a few things. One is, we see that, as you said earlier, Jesse, you said people, when they sign up for military, they were looking for the experience. You wanted to do 4 years. And then when 4 years came, you kept enlisting. So what keeps people in the military? Is it the pay? Is it the comfort, being, knowing that, hey, I got the check, it's consistent, and that's about it?
Well, Paulette, I'll be very honest with you and transparent with you and this is my opinion. I don't speak for all veterans. I feel that people, when we enlist into the military, they give us our purpose, and our purpose is given to us in the sense of a uniform and a shaved head for males. Okay. So that becomes our purpose. So we have an identity that's underdeveloped, but we have an overdeveloped sense of group. Okay. Because we work together as a squad, as a team, as a platoon. Okay. So when that 4 years comes up and you have an option to, should I re-enlist or should I get out? Then that uniform, that coat that you're wearing right now, it acts as a blanket of comfort, because we're fearful of the unknown that we hear as the civilian world. We don't know what stands out there for us, and we don't know how we're going to be perceived, because we act, think, and feel a certain way towards everything. And then we see civilians acting and thinking and feeling a totally different way. It's like, are we really going to fit in that environment? So there's a sense of the good voice, bad voice talking to us, like, what should we do? So I personally feel the majority of people stay in because they don't know of anything else to do. They're not willing to take that risk on themselves. And that's one reason why I stayed. I was going to get out in 2012, and I was scared. I had 7 kids. I was like, I'm used to that paycheck on the 1st and the 15th. And I didn't want to go out there, and I was scared that I was going to fail because I didn't know of any other way. But the story goes as 2017, when I did get out after 16 years, I had a bet on myself, and it was one of the most trying times in my life. I was scared to death. And I went through kind of, not an identity crisis, but I lost myself, and I had to find my identity and purpose again. And then we'll get into that later. But I believe it's the fear of the unknown.
That's great point. Because, I think this is not something that, news or television talks much about, and there's like movies that come out, like, remember the movie Sniper comes out and everybody's like, oh, how are we going to just be okay? This movie was horrible. And some people were not supportive of the movie. And so, but the amount of support there is for military veterans to transition out, I think we could do better while they committed their time for serving the country. And I think as a country, we should help them be able to transition out of military. What do you think, Tori?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Especially what Jesse was saying about the whole being comfortable in the identity. A lot of times people don't utilize the resources that they have to help them transition, mainly because they are comfortable with what they're currently in. So they feel like, oh, I'm going to be a lifer. They say, I'm going to do my 20 years and get this check every single month. And after that, I'll be good. But I don't think it's kind of like school, right? Your parents tell you go to school, get a good job, right? And that's what you do. You go to school and you get a good job. You really don't go outside and utilize resources to educate yourself unless it's presented to you. So the same is with the military. They don't really go out and utilize all the resources that they have until somebody presents it to them. And that's only sometimes. Like, there are some programs out there, like, for instance, I know when I was they had something called the Family Readiness Program, right? Where they have an individual, whether it be a civilian or a soldier, they have all these resources for you, but it's up to you to go out and seek these resources, ask questions. But due to this identity issue and being comfortable, they feel like they don't have to do that. So it's hard for them to transition over. Like Jesse said, the whole thing of like they wearing that uniform gives you this purpose. I love what he said, like that. It is so important, and people don't want to let that go.
Right.
So I think it's like people just don't utilize the tools and the resources that they have in order to transition. There's so many people out here that's been in the military that actually went out, sought those resources and used those tools. I have been very successful in it. It's just the whole thing of the whole identity, your mindset, being comfortable, and just stepping out on faith.
Very good. Very good. I know both of you are currently working with Matt Sapala, who is a former Marine. And he also, when he came out and he was looking to do something, and he was just, trying to figure things out. And so the reason why I'm bringing that up is, so let's just say I am a military person right now, currently. And I'm at that crossroad that I'm thinking, do I want to just stay here, or do I want something more? Is there something more? And I'm thinking, I want to transition from this to become a business owner. I'm thinking about running my own business. But so what would you suggest? Like, what is the importance of having a mentor in transitioning? Or what would you say, like, if you want to transition from military into entrepreneurship, what should they prepare like themselves to be able to have a you know, good transition, profitable transition into entrepreneurship?
Well, I think first off, I want to say having a mentor like Matt Sapala and an individual who actually was in the military and actually transitioned to entrepreneurship is so important and so pivotal in business for myself, because he understands the language, he understands the different things and variations, he understands the mindset and how it pivots over to entrepreneurship. And one thing that's so important, he understands the skill set that's needed in order to transition into entrepreneurship. So a couple of things, for instance, that I would say that he instilled in me that helped me transition and just helped me in my success as a mentee to my mentor in entrepreneurship. One thing was processing issues. So with the military, we're able to make a lot of sense of chaos. We're able, because in any day something crazy is probably going to go on, and just being able to process it real quick, I was able to use those skills in entrepreneurship and season initiative, right? Typically in the military, people always think it's about doing what you're told and something like that. It's really about, within the military, how they demand creative thinking, problem solving, and the ability to learn new things, which are very essential to entrepreneurship. So being able to process those issues and having a mentor help me use the same skill set in the military to entrepreneurship and see that really makes a big difference. And another thing that Matt does that's very good is building relationships, right? So, you know, in the military, especially in the Marines, they have very tight relationships, brotherhoods. It's just, we work as a part of the team. And the way we do that is through core values. For me, for the Air Force, we had 3 core values. It was integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. So just adapting those core values and carrying with us through our journey and being in the military was easily transferable into entrepreneurship. The last thing is just staying determined in the military. In the military, there's no such thing as giving up. There's no such thing. It's all about, in the words of one of my partners, Glossy McGee, pushing past the pain. It's all about pushing past the pain. At the end of the day, there's always going to be a problem there. There's always going to be an issue. But at the end of the day, if you're in hell, you don't want to continue to be in hell. You have to move past everything. You have to push past the pain. You got to stay dedicated. You got to stay determined. You got to, at the end of the day, you have to complete the mission by any means necessary. No excuses. So I think learning those 3 things that Matt kind of instilled in me was an easy transition into growing and developing into entrepreneurship.
That's awesome. That's like they're already prepared to become an entrepreneur. Just the fact that pushing past the pain, you can't give up, serve before self, like all of these pointers are amazing. And I know, Jesse, your team is the people that you're working with currently, they are also in the military. So let's just say I'm in the military and I want to start entrepreneurship, learn something and build a skill set. What are some tips you can give them while you're doing the same with your team?
I'll say, Paulette, is if we think about who we are as military service members, just to throw some data out there, 5 years of active duty service, that equates to 21 years spent in the corporate world. We eat, sleep, and breathe military 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's a significant amount of time compared to the corporate world. And think about those people who are retiring after 20 years. That's equivalent to 84 civilian years in the corporate world. That's longer than the average lifespan of an American, right? And to caveat for what Tori said about the transition, we have something called TAPS. 5 days of transition is transition assistance is not going to prepare someone for life outside of the military. They have the tools, they have the resources, but it's just not going to replace them. And I see a lot of jobs offering, hey, we're hiring veterans. It's because they're getting they're getting money for the veterans that they're hiring. But I want for any of those companies that are listening to this right now, it has to be more than just a job. Because what we as veterans require is we need help regaining our identity. We need a sense of purpose and belonging. That's one reason why people stay in, right? So as I said, we have a underdeveloped sense of identity and an overdeveloped sense of root. As Tori was saying, it's we work together in teams and the culture. So what I would say to people right now who are in the military, because my entire squad is either veterans or active duty service members. I got E5s, single E5s making $30,000 per year, living in the barracks. What is that the life you signed up for? No, it's not. I promise you it's not. $30,000 that's below poverty. Almost probably like you're having to decide what, if you weren't in the military making 30,000, you're having to determine which meal you want to miss that month. And we live in the richest country in the nation, America. So I would tell you, if you work your 9 to 5, work your military career, but you got to do something on the side. What you have been groomed for is entrepreneurship. You eat, feel, sleep, breathe, think a certain way, right? You show up on time. You show up on time, you're late. You show up 10 to 15 minutes prior. And then sometimes you might show up 10 to 15 minutes prior to the 10 to 15 minutes prior. You're disciplined. You work a system, a personal system for yourself. And we know that systems stands for save yourself time, energy, and money. And then it becomes repetitive. It's a habit. You don't even know why you're doing it anymore. You just do it. Most veterans don't know why they wake up at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's because they did it for years straight for PT, physical training, right? And as our mentor says, Matt Sapala, a leader knows the way, a leader goes the way, and a leader shows the way. That's everything. As John Maxwell says, everything rises or falls on leadership. And Tori, I like the Air Force acronym. That's cute, right? But the Army acronym and value stands for leadership, loyalty, duty, honor, respect, selfless service, personal courage, and integrity, right? So develop those, and you're already living the life. Now just reshift the focus and apply it to something else that's going to pay you what you're truly worth, because your work ethic, my friends, is irreplaceable. So go get paid what you're truly worth.
So thank you so much. Great points. Great points. I love, it's in the military, whenever you're meeting someone who's from the Army, I work with a couple of Marines in my base shop. And I go, okay, so Marine or Army or Air Force? Marine, always. Marine is like the best. Because I guess they have their boot camp is, super tough. But it doesn't matter. I think the boot camp across the board, like when you think about just a gas chamber by itself, I don't know how I would react, being in there, not being able to breathe. That's probably why I didn't give it a shot. But thank you so much. Here's another question I have, and that's how has it helped you being an entrepreneur right now? Because so I'll tell you my part. Back in 2000, when I experienced the first market correction, forgive me for saying this, but I wasn't even familiar with Twin Towers. Like I didn't know Twin Towers, like New York. I had never been to New York. So it's in the morning, we wake up, I turn on the TV, and the channel's showing a building on fire. I don't think much of it. I thought, okay, it could be part of history. They're talking about, years ago this happened. But my husband really grew up here. He was much younger when he came, and he looked at it. He's like, "Oh my gosh, we're under attack!" And I go, "What are you talking about?" So we switched channels. That's when I got the whole idea of what took place. And both of us lost our jobs. Both of us lost our jobs, but we weren't married. We were dating. We, had unemployment. We were cool. We didn't feel it as much. Fast forward, I was in real estate. So 2007, 2008 crash, it hit me hard. It hit me hard because you know how you said the sense of identity? I had that sense of identity that I figured it out and I'm making money in mortgages and I'm good. I can walk tall and everything is fine. But when the market hit and I, I didn't have enough time to recover. It took me a while to recover. And that's when I was introduced to the insurance industry, which is a recession-proof industry, because I didn't want to participate in yet another recession, right? And so now, fast forward, our business is considered essential. We're still working. Income is still coming. This is something that we can work from home. And so knowing you are where you are today, and this whole thing, pandemic happened, you can't work. How is this helping you actually? The being on the positive side of not worrying about finances and knowing you're taken care of.
I'll tell you, Paulette, it's a blessing. I feel honored to know that we live in a country where you can become whoever you want to be. And I heard that a lot growing up, and I never knew what it meant until I read the book Think and Grow Rich. When Napoleon Hill, he stated in that book that if the mind of man can conceive and believe, he can therefore achieve. So now I was able to link what my mother and father used to tell me to what the actual saying was. And of course, I was older. My mindset was at a different level, but I'm so grateful that I was able to serve in the military and be overseas because, a lot of Americans and guys, I'm a proud American. I love our country. I fought for our country. I was willing to give my life for our country. But for everybody watching this, do not be naive. You need to take a step back and look at the picture from outside the frame. Because being overseas, I was able to see what immigrants were able to see, the land of opportunity, the land of the free. But Americans that are here, we grow up with a sense of entitlement and we're inside the frame, so we can't see the full picture. We don't know that it's the land of opportunity. We just know it's the land of the job. Go to school, get a job, work for 40 hours per week for 40 years for 40% retirement. And I tell those people that that believe in that system, there was 26 million people just filed for unemployment. 2 months ago, they said, Jesse, I'm good. But today they tell me I need help. So being in a position as an entrepreneur and a company that's revolutionizing a 2,000-year-old industry has allowed me, my family, everybody I surround myself with to be able to impact the lives of others. And that's essentially why I chose to give up my military career, is because I want to help people. I believe that if we can help one person and teach that person to pay it forward, we create a ripple effect that will spread throughout the nation and then internationally, and we can truly change how the world we treat one another. So to have that sense of one thing I know MSM has done, a lot of the leaders in the Money Smart movement under Matt Sapala and Sheena Sapala's guidance and leadership is we help pay it forward. So buying groceries for people, setting up funds throughout our community events to be able to give to the people who are truly in need, the single mothers, the families that were laid off, where the breadwinner was laid off from work. We're in a position where we can help people. If I was in the military, guys, I was living paycheck to paycheck. Even though I was a EA, the first sergeant, I was still living paycheck to paycheck. Guys, 7 kids, they eat you out of house and home. So I would be in that position right now, Paulette, if I would have never made that decision to bet on myself and then partner with a company that was revolutionizing the industry. I'd be the one out there struggling. But through entrepreneurship and mentorship that I'm receiving, and like your brother who is the visionary, I'm so thankful for him as the visionary that we're all able to do this and be that lighthouse for the American people. it's just been a blessing.
And I love the fact that you served the country and now you're still continuing to serve.
It's still, we're still at war, Paulette.
Yeah,
It's
true.
we may not be in a physical war right now, but we're in a mental war, and that's the battle on poverty. Poverty is a mindset.
Right.
And as Americans, we've been conditioned, as middle class, I should say, we've been conditioned to think, act, and feel a certain way. Right.
Yep.
So as Warren Buffett says, he or she that controls your money controls you and the decisions that you make in your life. Well, there's a reason why finance is not in schools. There's a reason for that. So it's time to challenge the status quo and start asking questions.
Yeah, it's true. And when you said we're conditioned that way, I remember when I, for the first time, heard, hey, Paulette, what do you think is poor man's sport or rich man's sport? And first when he said poor man's sport, and we were talking about, I don't know, like, and he said, what about basketball? What about football? What about soccer? I said, those are all the sports I love to watch. He said, when you think about what kind of commercials are playing during those games, you'll see why poor stays poor. And so we started processing, and the commercial during any kind of sports, not any kind, like basketball, think about what it is. Beer, McDonald's, chips, all these things, right? Buy a car, have a lease. You pay for nothing for a lease. But when you're thinking about tennis, golf, and what kind of commercial they play during those games, it's all about investment, savings, investment. So no wonder rich gets richer, poor gets poorer, and it's the system made for that exact. When you say war on poverty, we are definitely there, because a country without middle class and destroyed middle class, which right now that's the attack on the middle class of America. To get rid of middle class, where you have very, very rich, very, very poor. And then that's when we lose our freedom. So thank you so much for the pointers. And so Tori, real quick, how is that helping you right now with the pandemic and everything for your family, being an entrepreneur and having the freedom, since the kids don't have school and they have to stay home? So how is that whole thing working out for you guys?
Well, first, it's added another job. I'm a teacher. I'm a dean of students. So added additional jobs. But other than that, like Jesse said, it's been an absolute blessing. Just knowing that we can go out and just help individuals in their time of need, in their time of frustration, depression, anxiety. It's times like this that I think of when mental health is probably going to take an all-time rise. So I feel like we have the tools in order to decrease that, to help that, and help them financially, introduce them to different things that they probably didn't think of, but say, you know what, here's a different option. Here's a different approach that you can take to help your family. Or so next time, because it's going to be a next time, here's a different tool that you can use, so this won't be the scenario next time. As far as the whole thing, as far as the pandemic is going on, it's been, business for us has been crazy. It's been booming. We've been on so many appointments, and the best thing is everybody's at home, so the virtual thing has been awesome. We've been able to help so many families, and not just help them, but educate them, because knowledge is so key and so powerful. Just going out there, educating them, letting them know that there are different options, whether it be protecting your money, protecting your life, whatever it is. So that's one way we've been able to, help individuals and families.
Awesome. Thank you so much for both of you being on our panel today. Jesse, how can they find you on Instagram? Is it the same Jesse Moon handle?
No, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram or Facebook as the Bearded Financial Guy or Jesse Moon.
Great. How about you, Tori?
You can find me on LinkedIn as well, Instagram, I am Tori Hansberry, and Facebook as well.
Perfect, perfect. So for those of you that joined us, I hope this helped you out. If you know anyone from military background who is looking to transition, that you find this video really valuable, share it with them. And by the way, for those of you that watch and share this video, at midnight tonight, we will decide out of everyone that shares, we'll have a raffle, and there is a $25 gift card that will go to the person that is going to be picked tonight, midnight at Pacific Standard Time. And so share with everyone. We will have a new panel. We'll post it on the social media next time we come in. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Tori, for being with us. We appreciate both of you. Hey, everyone, go ahead and have a rock star day until we see each other soon. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.